Hello, everyone. This is the Nameless One, and tonight we will be doing an Alicorn discusses the future of My Little Pony. For those of you just joining in for the first time, don't forget to, if you enjoy this, like, comment, subscribe, ring the notification bell, follow on Twitch, check out any links in the description, more about how you can support the channel at the end. Today we have some old and new guests. So for this, I think what we'll do for the icebreaker question is I've been doing so many of these, I'm running out of fresh ideas for it. When you join the fandom, we'll do that one. So I'm gonna point at you, and when I single you out, you introduce who you are, what you do, if anything, and the fandom thing. So we'll start with Nashi.
Hello, I'm Nashi. I'm just your average old fandom artist and streamer, nothing special. How I found the fandom is actually a pretty funny story. I can actually thank my girlfriend of 12 years for it. Because I was just browsing the internet, just all of a sudden ponies exploding everywhere, and I asked her, like, do you know why there's like suddenly ponies everywhere on the internet everywhere I go? And her response of, I think there was a show or something, is what changed the entire course of my life.
And suddenly, pineapples. But insert ponies.
Yes.
Okay. Samurai.
Hello. For those who don't know me, wait, who are we talking to?
You're the only
Oh,
samurai
okay.
here.
I thought you called someone else. Like, wait, am I talking over someone? Let's redo that. All right. Hey, everyone. For those who don't know me, I am the Eternal Samurai. I also go by Samick, and you may be confused by the Sonic OC because that was the fandom I was originally into. Not that I'm not part of it anymore. I still very much am, but if you go to my YouTube channel, I mostly focus on spreading positivity and inspiration from the My Little Pony Friendship is Magic show. If you are interested, shameless plug, you can check out my channel. And how I got into the fandom, actually, my buddy Shadow Flare, who I see is in the chat, hey Shadow, introduced me to it about 2 years ago. And it was just all sunshines and rainbows from there. And I'm happy to be here.
Okay. Nez.
I actually have a bit of an interesting story too. So you see, way back at like
Are you gonna tell us who you are first?
What?
I know you've been on here before, but you at least gonna introduce yourself first?
Oh yeah. I'm Nez. I also have numbers. Those aren't random. Anyways, yeah, I don't do like most of the stuff I do is like small things, like helping out friends. It's like I downplay it a lot, but like I think I help quite a bit in a bunch of different things. I also want to be a writer. But anyways, I got into the fandom. I'm actually not sure when you would classify it because like I like binged the first 3 seasons on Netflix when they came out. And I basically just watched the show for years, just quietly, until around I think the season 5 finale, or no, season 6, because I wanted to see what Chrysalis was gonna do next. So I went on the internet and bam, Brony now, Brony stuff.
Okay.
I actually,
Go ahead.
sorry. I forgot a part. I actually only originally started watching the show because I had a younger cousin come over, and I was dumb and young, and when they were watching My Little Pony, I didn't realize I could walk away and go do something else, and then I liked it. But yeah, I'm done now. Sorry.
Atlas. Crickets. Is he there? Is he muted? Atlas, are you muted?
Hey, sorry. Sorry, my bad. It's my turn, right? I'm not having an hallucination, am I?
Nah,
No.
you're last.
Okay. Hello, everybody. My name is Atlas. I'm a music producer. I'm an audio engineer. You probably know me from one of my many previous titles, most infamous being Max Initial. I figured out about this fandom about a year ago now, and the story is funny because I really hated this fandom for no good reason, but I really hated it. And one day I decided to give it a real, unironic watch, the show, and I just kind of snowballed into it, and I grew from hate to love. So,
Aww.
Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and do my own as well. You guys should know me by now. I am the Nameless One. I run this channel, both the Twitch and the YouTube channels. I also run quite a few different servers, to include the Creator Hub server. Other than that, I do writing as well. That if you can find it on Film Fiction, congratulations, you have found me. Other than that, I'd actually been tangentially aware of the fandom for years, but, the internet made it sound like a bad thing to like it, so, like a dumb kid, I was like, oh, I'm not supposed to like that, because I'm a dude. And, spent years avoiding it. While I was in the military, though, I ran into an actual brony, somebody that was open about the fact that they enjoyed the show. He and I got to chatting. I finally, over a night shift, binged the entire show. And was like, yeah, I like this. And the rest is history. But to get us started, so what we're going to be talking about tonight is kind of a two-part topic. First part, we're going to talk basically about the state of the franchise, where we think it's headed, if it's good, bad, ugly. But with the second half, we'll actually talk a bit more about the fandom, because you can't talk about one without the other, or at least not in my opinion. So, first things first. We're going to settle a bit of a debate online. G4. Do you guys believe that it ended on a good note? Because I do see people still arguing back and forth of whether or not G4 needs to come back. And as an extension to that question, do you believe that G5 should have been G4 2.0? Electric Boogaloo.
Are we going to be taking turns with this, or?
I think that would be the best
kinda-
decision.
Yeah.
Let's say just chime in or take turns.
I was going to have it be more conversational if you guys wanted, but if you want to take turns, we'll take turns. I normally do the turn taking if everybody just sits there silently for 30 seconds or more.
That's fair.
I
yeah.
mean, I guess I'll chime in first. So, what was the question again?
G4,
Nice.
did it end well, and should they have continued it into G5?
I will say as much as I would have loved to see G4 continue, it's kind of like all good things, it must come to an end. Like, it came to how would I put it? It was a bittersweet ending, and it was a needed ending. Because I kind of think had it kept going, it would have ended up like something like SpongeBob. So, yeah. And then as far as
SpongeBob, The Simpsons,
all of that, yeah. But as far as G5, I personally wish it was like, say, G4 2.0, where it's like, oh, why can't it be about, like, say, Flurry Heart and the Cutie Mark Crusaders? Or had them be more like the main characters.
Okay.
So
That's just my take, at least.
So I actually have something to say about that last little bit.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
They you remember when the first G5 leaks were brought in, it was originally going to be like the reincarnations of the main six, or like a similar but different kind of setup.
Mm-hmm.
They couldn't do that because due to the hub turning into Discovery Family, Discovery half owns the main six. So they literally couldn't use them for the show because they couldn't get Discovery to give them the okay to use the characters.
Yeah, they had to like license it out. Yeah, I heard that they had to pay every time like Twilight Sparkle showed up.
Yep.
Oof.
Yeah, there's a weird licensing issue.
That's weird.
I think there was a lot. That's such a, to say whether or not it. Man, there's so many things I could say here. Wow, I'm falling over myself. I think there was a lot of pressure on the ending of G4 with how massive of a generation it was. Right, there was such a massive influx of people that flocked to this IP once that generation came out. So, like I said, there's a lot of pressure that comes to the end of that, and so I think it ended on a good note. And I mean, because I'd rather something end early, while it's still great, than go on for too long, or something like that, and just phase out. To think that like G5, in regards to becoming something like G4 2.0, I don't think that would really be a smart move. I think introducing a new idea and kind of branching from that and growing from the previous generation would be smart. It's kind of what they've done now, because I feel like if you just kind of transition, like they want to, I can tell what they wanted to do with G5. Looking at it, they wanted to bring back the core intended audience, but not after so long G4 had been going on, you were already kind of plateauing. So they wanted to bring something new in and kind of branch off of that. And I think that is the smartest thing they could have done. I think if they did G4 2.0, it wouldn't have done very well for them. At least, I mean, with what they were aiming to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In terms of G4, I feel like they definitely couldn't have gone on that much longer. They were running out of lessons for the characters to learn, and most of them were done with their character arcs. So yeah, like they wrapped up a lot of loose ends in season 9. Like the only thing I don't like is the final episode, but you can ignore that because there was a good 2-parter right before it. And in terms of G5, I feel like as it is, like you could take that plot and you could remove all of the pony elements and it would still work, which is a problem because they included Generation 4 and made it like a continuation, but like the plot still works even if you made it like Barbie or something. Like
Go ahead.
Sorry.
No, you can keep going. I just thought you were done.
Yeah, I could stop there.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure I wasn't interrupting you. If anything, if you wanted to say more.
Nah, I'm good for now.
Okay. So I really like how the show ended. I can probably just say I cried for like an hour after I watched the last episode for you to know that. But yeah, I think like it ended at like the perfect time. Like I felt like if they went any longer, it could have hit the overstayed its welcome kind of thing, as like they were running out of ideas. Like I'm not saying like any of the episodes that we did get were running out of ideas, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But as for the G5 connection with G4, like I watched the movie, I liked the movie, but honestly, like, I think they should have dropped the connection the moment that they realized they didn't want to pay for every instance of an old character appearing. Because, like, it's the equivalent of saying, like, hey, yeah, it's connected here, but we don't want to do any of the work of telling the story of how we got there. And I think that weakens it greatly. So, like, I do think G5 should have been its own thing the moment they realized that they were going to have troubles actually connecting the two.
So I definitely agree that even with so for those of you that don't know, there's actually a 10th season that was done purely through the comics.
Yeah, I
And
love those comics.
even with that add-on, they did nothing but build more on the world and did a really good job of it up until the very end, where you could tell that they were told that they need to cut it off now and rushed it. But they did a really good job with tying up G4.
Yeah.
But moving into G5, I think they would have been much better served to just start with an entirely blank slate like they do with every other generation. Because if you look back at Gs 1 through 4, like, each one was a completely different story, completely different characters. Like, there's some connections, like I think there's like a Fluttershy all the way through and a Rarity all the way through.
It's Applejack is the one who's, like, purely all the way through in the same, like, in the actual, like, vein. There's always an Applejack because, like, that's, like, the one character that's purely owned by Hasbro. But there are, like, analogs to them. Like, Rainbow Dash and Rarity are characters who are names, I should say, that were in G3, but they're entirely different characters in G4. They just took the name.
And I believe
Rainbow Dash always dresses in style.
I don't know why they named G3 Rainbow Dash Rainbow Dash.
Yeah, like, I understand the rainbow part, but why Dash?
But as far as, like, G5, from what I've, like, seen online, it has not had nearly the popularity of even G1. Because G1, you can still find merch. Even G3 sometimes. Nobody knows where G2 went. But
G2 is the middle child that just kind of got forgotten.
Also, thank you to Gaming Truge for the $2 super chat on YouTube. But yeah, with all of the different generations, like, I felt like trying to continue G4 off of it, they went for a really weird story, both through the comics and through the because it almost implies that everything that we remember the characters learning was forgotten.
Yeah, like it's really out of character for Twy to literally do the "if you can't play nice, I'm taking away your toys."
Yeah.
Because, like, that's why the ponies don't have magic anymore.
Yeah,
like the Princess of Friendship and the Element of Magic took all the magic away, and everyone started hating each other.
So yeah, it's definitely one of those that there was better ways to handle it. But with what I've been seeing from that generation, it is also kind of looking like they're already starting to gear up for a G6 because they realized that it didn't do as well as they wanted.
Yeah.
Either that or just trying to finish the generation on YouTube, which feels, well, it does feel like kind of with the times per se, but it also feels a bit odd to have a multi-billion-dollar corporation go, oh yeah, we're just going to do it on YouTube.
I think one of the big problems is like G4 was so explosively popular, and let's just say businesses tend to only look at the shareholder side of things. Like, so they don't realize that the reason why G4 was so explosively profitable to them was because, well, adults with the actual money were the ones that were getting into the show. And so I think they felt like they wanted to go back to the core audience for G5, but expected the same numbers. So when that didn't happen, they just stopped like really putting in the effort into the gen.
That kind of brings me to part of what we'll be talking about for this first part of the podcast. Hasbro, just in general. So Hasbro has been slowly trying to kill all of its good franchises.
Yeah.
Because it owns Wizards of the Coast, which owns D&D and Magic the Gathering. Magic the Gathering, they keep trying to do the Fortnite thing. Dungeons and Dragons, they're trying to do the same thing and move away from what Dungeons and Dragons actually is, which is a tabletop role-playing game. And I see a lot of the same happening with other franchises they own. Like, own, not just have licensing to, like Star Wars. Like, they do Star Wars toys and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I can't speak to the... what's it called? The Transformers side? Because never really been into Transformers, weirdly enough. You know, supposed to be a little boy franchise, but as a kid, I was just like, they exist. I'm not I'm not that big of a fan of cars. But
I actually grew up watching Care Bears and Barbie instead.
Interesting.
I didn't like
I was a Disney kid
very much.
But I'm starting to notice a trend with a lot of, and it's not just a Hasbro thing. It's just Hasbro is the main culprit we're focusing on. But a lot of franchises are starting to kill themselves slowly through either like a neglect of what people actually want, or there's also the huge issue where they will implement things that they think people want. Like, a huge example of that right now is Warhammer 40K. There's a huge controversy going on because Henry Cavill has been trying to stay... He knows what the fans want because he is one. But Amazon wants him to have just like a ridiculous list of things added for DEI purposes, which DEI can be a very good thing if done properly. But
DEI?
Diversity, equity, and inclusion, I think. I forget what the I is for sure. And I noticed that a lot of franchises are doing things either like that or just like, what can we do to squeeze the most money out of it with the least amount of time spent on something that we have to like build? So they will blanket throw out terms that like, oh yeah, these people will be interested without looking at what their actual demographic is.
You know, I kind of think like, kind of touching on the topic, but I sometimes wonder why like Hasbro didn't even capitalize on finishing up Equestria Girls. Because like, I think that would have been like not just an easy cash grab, but like it would have really catered to, the G4 audience, whoever was into Equestria Girl to begin with. But
do we have any Equestria? Do we have any Equestria Girl fans here? Like some people that have actually finished it?
Sure. Yeah.
I watched a lot of it.
Oh, man. I was not a fan. I watched it all, though. I felt obligated to after watching all of G4.
I don't hate it, but I'm not like super into it. I'm more neutral in it. I like that it exists. I like that people can like it, but it's just not my side of things.
Understandable.
Hey, the music in it is awesome.
Oh yeah, I love the music.
They definitely did have some really good songs. I never got into it, but Samurai, tell us, did they end Equestria Girls? Like, was there a finale for that?
There really wasn't. Like, I'm trying not to spoil too much, but there was a very premature ending to the whole thing. Like they didn't like you brought up, they didn't have a finale. it was just like some kind of winter special. Those felt like a bunch of shorts and compilation, and that was their last episode.
See, that kind of feels like that brings up the point that I forget which one of you brought it up, but the idea that they're very out of touch with anything that isn't shareholders.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's again, it's like I really feel like it would have been a perfect cash grab and catered to fans.
I feel like
Yet they didn't capitalize on it.
I feel like to some extent that would not be the case, though. Just because what they see as a cash grab is the explosive lightning in a bottle popularity of G4. And they want nothing less than more of that. They want that times 10.
Yep. All
Like, good luck getting that times 2 then.
yeah, like company, like shareholders never look at anything like, oh hey, like what did we do that caused this spike to happen? Let's make more of that happen. No, they just go like, oh, the line went up. You better make that imaginary line go up more.
What were you going to say, Ness?
It's just that, yeah, like they had a chance to have that lightning in a bottle again. Obviously, it wouldn't have been as good as G4 because G4 was just lightning in a bottle. But like with G5, they had a chance. Like people were coming from there to check this out, and if they did something, like they had good ideas. Like I'm kind of a hater for G5, but they did have good ideas, and they had like fun little like new things that they added. But it was mostly just, hey, look, the Breezies are back. You remember the Breezies, right? Well, they're here now, and then they're going to hand the plot to the main characters, and then they're not going to be relevant ever again.
Oh yeah, I remember that episode from Make Your Mark.
Or the Kieran.
It was pretty stupid.
The
Kieran back in G5.
What's that?
They brought the Kieran back for G5.
No, I was talking more for G4. I haven't really watched G5. I didn't even know that.
I never saw them in G5, but I haven't seen Tell Your Tale, so
they also have, to my knowledge, there are no changelings, which is an incredibly popular species within the Brony fandom.
Yeah, not having them is a crime, in my opinion.
My headcanon is that when there was no more Equestria, like when there was no more magic in Equestria, the changelings just all starved. Which is like, why would Twilight do that? That sounds awful.
Yeah.
That sounds like somebody that doesn't know what they're doing. Which,
yep, in a nutshell, that's kind of what G5 was, if you ask me.
Yeah,
pretty much. You know, sorry if you're trying to wrap up the topic, but I feel like I kind of have a bit of a unique opinion on this. I don't mind if there was a connection to G4, like with G5, but what I mind is if it's simply being used as a cash grab.
Oh, 100%. I agree.
Oh, yeah.
If there was actually legitimately good story, like with storytelling and world building, whatever that we got from G4, and tied it, use that same formula in G5 and tie it back, it's like, okay, then I think this would actually work out well. Instead, in retrospect, what they have now, it's like G5 should completely be its own thing, no tie back to G4.
100%.
Yeah.
Like, in my personal opinion on G5 is that they could have either made a completely new story with completely new characters, or they could have doubled down more on it being a continuation of G4 and like explain more like what Twilight did, how. But no, that was just an explanation for why the magic was gone, and then she just doesn't really come up ever again. It's like you can go one way or the other, but they just stood in like an awkward middle ground that wasn't worth it.
Especially like, I still find it odd how the very beginning of the G5 movie, it's like they put the G4 characters for like the first 30 seconds.
So I will say,
it was such a whiplash not getting like elaboration on what happened when I remember watching the video. Like, I'm not the video, the movie, right? And we got like very little elaboration on what happened to get to the point that we are, which just, I don't know, it just felt very jarring to me.
Wasn't it? What was it? Little Shy said it was brony bait.
Yeah.
The movie, yeah. I think that the execs at Hasbro are aware we exist, and they know they can milk us for money if they do it just right. But what they don't seem to understand is that we are a vast majority of the sales that they are after.
Yeah.
And thus they hate us.
Because, like, having adults with their own money who can make the choice of what to make with their money versus kids who are completely reliant on their parents spending the money for them, which the answer 90% of the time is, like, can I get this toy? Is probably going to be no.
That's not even all of it. Like, a big part, like, sure, bronies have their own money and they can buy a lot of stuff, but like a lot of bronies just buy fan-made stuff, and Hasbro doesn't get a kickback from that. However, a brony is much more likely to get their kids to watch the show, and then they're going to want the toys.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then bear in mind like how the fandom has become a lot more niche as years went by. It's not anywhere near what it was 10 years ago, so
it's not as loud as it was 10 years ago. I am of the opinion that it might actually be bigger, and especially bigger than we give it credit for.
Oh yeah, I
think
agree.
I think it's like it's become more focused. Like that's
not only has it become more
niche.
focused, it's less of a because. So we're gonna get into this a little bit, but I do want to try to keep most of this for the second half of the podcast. But the part of the reason why the fandom got so big is because it was also considered somewhat of a counterculture movement. It was cool to like My Little Pony, even ironically, because people were telling you you're not supposed to. You're an adult. You're a boy.
Right.
You're insert reason here why you shouldn't like this.
Definitely. I wasn't around for that age of the fandom. However, probably a big reason why it feels smaller than it did then is because like the news and the media like picked up on it. It's like, why are they doing this? But like 10 years later, it's like they can't do that anymore because it's like, oh, they're still doing it. Okay, let's talk about other stuff.
We've also like grown to a point where, just like fairies, we're inundated in the internet, so you don't think as much about it as you're scrolling through like Twitter or something like that. There's pony art, and
it doesn't stand out anymore.
Yeah, it's just like fairy art. It's just there. Even like part of the reason why right now, say, the Amazing Digital Circus, Has Been Hotel, or even Hell of a Boss, all of three of those, or Murder Drones even, are getting so much attention is the fact that they're brand new. Everybody's looking at it. It's not something that's been around. There are still people that are... There's still, to my understanding, it's much smaller now, but there's still a Homestuck fandom, if anybody actually knows who that is.
I remember Homestuck. You couldn't escape it, but now it's just like, they're there.
Same with Undertale. Undertale, like, there was a period of time where people would swear off ever even thinking about playing Undertale just because of how many people are like, you should play Undertale.
Yeah.
I'm honestly like still in that camp just because I'm not sure if it's my neurodivergence or something else, but just the more someone tells me to do something, the less I want to do it.
No, that's just human nature.
I'm still kind of just stuck in the I don't think I'm gonna play this.
None of these fandoms are gone or disappeared. It's just like focus has shifted to new.
Yeah,
we're not new, so we're not going to get as much airtime, for lack of a better way to say it.
Yeah.
There's also the fact that over time there have been like more and more like milestones where it's like, oh, certain people in the fandom didn't like that, so they're just gonna pretend it didn't happen and just like, for example, Princess Twilight. I feel like there's still people in the fandom who are like, that never happened. There's only 3 seasons. What are you talking about?
Yeah, there is very much still people that think that way because I've seen a few. In fact, the guy that introduced me to My Little Pony was that way. It's like he said he stopped watching when Twilight got her wings.
Yeah,
And
that's a
there's some people that refuse to go past where Faust stopped being a part of the show. There are some people that swear that the final episode and the ending of the show doesn't exist. Yeah, there's sections of the fandom like any other fandom. There's sections we don't talk about. There's sections we do talk about. But
I'm just pointing out that because there are sections, it feels a little smaller from the inside because like it's a little bit of segregation of it, so we're kind of split up a little. I don't know.
Like if you, for example, Twitch Trot, for example, it's a fairly decent sized group. But if that's all you know of the fandom, you don't go to conventions, you just hear about them, and then you hear like say one closing, it sounds like things are shrinking, falling in around you. If you have this small friend group that are all bronies and that's all you ever talk to, it feels like anytime either somebody decides that they're not really that interested anymore, starts moving on to do other things, or again, BabsCon recently announced their final con, and that's going to be closing. I've had a couple of friends that are like, "Oh no, the fandom's dying."
Yeah, and meanwhile, they ignore the fact that like 2 new cons opened up this year.
I heard something about it. There was like I can't remember what it is now. I need to like look into it a bit more. But we also have we have that one that showed up from, what was it called? Mayor Fair. Now I know people.
Yeah, Mayor Fair.
I know there are people with it's a very divisive to say that was a good thing, but it shows that the fandom is still growing.
Yeah.
When did Mayor Fair start?
Last year.
Oh, I didn't realize last year was its first year.
Yeah.
Huh.
And everything that I've seen, it was well enough organized, and they kept a lot of the like more raunchy stuff out of the main spaces. That it was actually not that bad. And I'm talking about people that have been there have said that. Like there were definitely some definite 4chan behaviors that showed up throughout, but they weren't in the panels, they weren't in the main events or anything like that. It was in the public spaces.
It was guests, not the
Not
organizers.
Yeah. So I actually like hearing that makes me very hopeful for their future. Not to mention that they're also going to be the cool con to go to because everybody says you shouldn't on Twitter.
Yeah.
Well, I actually didn't hear about any of that. But that sounds interesting.
Oh yeah, there was a massive explosion about that.
I'm just sitting here thinking like, you organized a con in Florida. What did you expect?
Yeah. We're crazy over here.
Well, the big thing is 4chan organized a con in Florida. That is why most people had an issue.
Yeah.
So, getting us a little bit more back on topic with the franchise side of things. For those of you that don't follow corporate stuff very often, the gaming industry is something that I follow fairly closely because, well, now it's part of my livelihood is playing games. But I have also been a gamer for many, many, many years now. And being able to excuse the sound of my lizard trying to long range fight the other lizard.
We need a lizard cam now.
I actually have I have that set up for my gaming streams. So
No way.
and I don't think I have any viewers that have been around long enough to redeem the lizard cam. But if you manage to do that, with the channel points. I'm more than happy to set up Lizard Cam for this as well. We'll stick it in the chat box. But
sad. YouTube viewers can't get channel points.
nope. I am trying to get to 100 followers on Twitch. Slight derail here, but and shameless plug. So if you can do me a solid for those of you on YouTube, if you have a Twitch, just go follow the nameless one. The last E is a 3 because apparently there was already one of me there.
Mm.
But
They're multiplying.
Back to what I was saying with the gaming industry, there has been a trend that I'm noticing from Hasbro as well, where they will do things like, for example, EA. EA at one point. No, actually, it was Activision Blizzard and EA both. When they started getting really big, and this was during like the height of the loot box controversies. When they started getting really big numbers, they would announce things like record sales and record earnings, and then lay off over 800 people, over 1,000 people. I think the biggest number I saw was 1,800 people all laid off so that they could make it on a number chart for the shareholders. So the shareholders, and it's kind of funny that the way that they do it is the same way that the US does its budget, where they take the room full of shit and then look at that room and say, oh, we used that much, so now we're going to build a taller roof, and now you have to reach that higher roof in order for things to work.
Yep.
So Hasbro is not realizing that they can't milk a cash cow when the cash cow goes dry, which is why I believe that G4 was even tangentially involved with G5, is because they wanted to milk a cash cow. That's why the G5 movie had so many little bitty references that if you were, like, the very first scene has Grogar's bell in it. No newcomer is going to know what the hell that is. Also, the fact that they just had that casually laying out like it was no big deal hurt a lot for a purist. It was like, I'm not entirely sure you should have that just laying around.
Definitely. They also just had the Tree of Harmony just be a regular tree that they walked past during a musical number. Like,
is that ever been confirmed? Because nobody seems to want to say that is the Tree of Harmony, considering
I thought I heard it was on Twitter, but
there's a lot of people that say that it is or isn't. So at this point, I just it makes no sense because that tree was in the Everfree. Because you're talking about the one where the
honestly, at this point in time, do you think the writers of G5 are concerned about continuity?
No.
Nope.
Not at all. That is not even a question.
Yeah, exactly. At this point, I don't think that's even an issue.
That is definitely something that if you watch any of the stuff that they have been putting out, they don't really consider continuity a thing that they need to think about. Which is another issue that I've noticed with Hasbro, is Hasbro will pick one thing and that will mostly be able to keep up its own continuity. But all of the things that, because they want to do the Marvel thing, they want to do the Star Wars thing, where you have this big, massive multimedia franchise. Because if you notice, they've been keeping up with the comics. They're still releasing the comics to the point where it's hard to keep up with anymore. Because I used to. And then I moved out into Wills Point in the middle of nowhere, and it was too expensive to go get the comics. Because they release 5 covers at a time. Which is another thing that I've noticed they do, is they try to milk the collectors. They will have like random things that are just way too good to pass up. Like, has anybody ever seen what are they? The Guardians of Harmony, I think. They've got
I have no idea.
It's one that's Starlight and Trixie riding a rocket, and it's like a figurine type toy.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, I have that toy.
Yeah,
I want it.
The reason they look so good is because fans helped with it, but they also then replaced that line with a different line that still looks pretty good, but is not nearly as high quality as those figures. They've also...
I assume the Starlight Trixie rocket thing was fan made. Goddamn.
No, it is actually officially licensed merchandise.
Yep.
There's an entire series of them, because there's also Nightmare Moon, Celestia, Chrysalis.
Final Scratch one.
Yes, Final
That
Scratch.
my friend has.
There's two versions of Discord. There's the one with just him in his chair, and then there's one that comes with a Fluttershy and a really fancy box. I have both. They have a Storm King as well, but nobody wants that one.
Because the Storm King.
Where are the Storm King stands out? Where are they at?
I mean, he's dead, so...
Yeah, I never
honestly,
liked them.
The primary antagonist of that movie was Tempest, not the Storm King.
Yeah.
That movie was so good. I actually really enjoyed
loved
that
that
movie. And from an
movie.
objective standpoint, it was good because it was paced out well. It was written well.
Yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of the things that I mean, if we brought it up, I might as well get into it. A lot of the things that people bring up that's like, oh, it's out of character because Twilight did this. And it's like, no, it's not. During that movie's events, Twilight was the only capable ruler of Equestria trying to do the best for her people. So she tried to steal the thing that somebody was essentially going to tell her, no, you can't have it because reasons.
Yeah, like, whenever anyone says, like, all of that is out of character for Twilight, she straight up says why she did it. Like, they are used to being in a place where literally friendship has literal power. And so, like, all you have to do is make friends and you have the ability to make things better. But outside of Equestria, everything has been just, like, everything was just completely shit. It was alien to them. Their normal game plan wasn't working. So she did what she thought the people from the outside would do and steal the thing.
Also, we have been reminded to drink water.
Oh, thank you.
Drink that water.
I need to go grab a water bottle. Give me just a sec. I forgot to sit down with one.
But yeah, like, just the line that really gets me in that scene is, like, after she mentions that, like, friendship isn't going to fix everything, just the line, it's not enough, we're not enough. Just that right there is like, explains everything of why she thought she had to steal the pearl.
Yeah.
I've noticed that we're mostly talking about the fandom, but wasn't this supposed to be about the future of it? I feel like
We're
that's a good
diverging. We're diverging. Yes.
Yeah, we should get that at some point.
Oh, Stella was here for 2 seconds. I saw her.
Oh,
She popped in. She popped in.
hold on. Let me look at Discord. Let me see. She in the audience?
Oh, she was.
It
Yeah.
was for like 2 seconds.
Yeah, that was another guest who was late.
Yeah, I really loved the 2017 movie though. That was a really good movie.
Yeah, that's
Mhm.
good.
That last song
Sorry.
too, such a banger. Oh my gosh.
Oh
They're
yeah.
probably like top 3 movies for me.
I was looking through the leak emails from like I think it was like 2017, 2019, like somewhere in between there when they were working on the movie, right? And they had an email that was sent where they were talking about possibly like the artists they might use for the songs, right? Like we know now that it was Sia and Joshua Graham that did everything. But Bruno Mars was on that list too, and I was like, that would have been kind of cool. That and Jack Black, and then like a bunch of other. There was a bunch of cool people that were on there, like either as cameos or as like musical artists for the movie.
Yeah.
There's a lot of potential, but I think Sia and Joshua Graham did a really good job. I don't think anyone could replace them there.
Oh yeah.
If they put that same effort into G5, we would be in a completely different timeline.
Oh yeah.
So our fifth guest should be making it. I don't know. I haven't heard anything from our sixth.
Okay. I really like the art style of that movie too.
And I love that they brought it back for the Rainbow Road Trip.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I really liked Rainbow Road Trip. I hear a lot of people kind of find it mediocre, but I really liked it actually.
I love it. And it
Yeah.
gave us best girl kerfuffle.
Yeah,
She's
I love
supposed to be my
Kerfuffle.
favorite. Yeah, she's my favorite pony. Everybody was like, "Who's your favorite pony?" I'll say Kerfuffle, and like a lot of people will be like, "Who is that?" Because I haven't watched Rainbow Road Trip.
That's
Like,
funny
yeah,
because
she's got a peg leg. That's who I'm talking about. You know.
And she's so adorable.
the way that I joined the fandom was the first thing I knew that I needed to do was watch the entirety of the show because surprisingly, I joined when it ended. A lot of people are just like blown away by the fact that I'm this well connected and this like well read up on like the events of the fandom and have only been in for like 4 years, I think at this point.
Yep.
Actually, yeah, that's right. We just recently passed the anniversary of my channel. So yeah.
Fun fact. I think I hold a world record. I think I do. Maybe I do. I watched like I said, I learned about the show and the fandom and everything last year, and that was during a short break from school that I had, and I managed to watch because I had just moved at the time, so I didn't really have much to do, right? So I had managed to watch all of G4, all of Equestria Girls, and part of G5 in 2 weeks, 2 weeks time, all of it, and I consumed a good bit of fandom content as well. I don't think anyone, no one that I know has watched the show that fast, at least as far as I know.
Actually, that's about how I was on night shifts doing it because I wasn't quite comfortable with my like affiliation with the fandom yet, and it took me about 2 weeks to finish the show, watch both movies, and watch the Equestria Girls movies that I found relevant, as well as a couple of the shorts that I decided would be relevant to like my interests, because there was pony side of it involved. So,
So yeah, we watched it in about the same time. Yeah, awesome.
and then I dove really deep into the fandom,
Yep.
and I have not surfaced for air since.
Same. I plan to die with the herd, baby.
Yeah. I'm just kind of like, I'm floating kind of more towards the surface a bit. I've got a lot of, I've dived down quite a bit, but yeah.
I have yet to. There's a lot of content, like fandom content, that I've got to catch up on. One being like Fallout Equestria. Everyone's talking about it, and they're like, "Oh, it's so good," and I'm like, "Well, I haven't really listened to it." Or
Andy died. Did we lose him? Or is it me? Hello?
I don't hear him either.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep, audio
Oh,
issues.
there he
Like I
goes.
said,
Okay.
it's a big issue with my audio interface. It'll just cut out sometimes, unfortunately.
Thank you for the cheer. Kendo Studios on Twitch gave me I think that's my first cheer, actually.
Aww.
I know who that is. They make classical stuff, I believe, orchestral stuff like that.
No.
I think. I don't know.
They do SFM animation.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you for the cheer. But I think now is a good time, since we've already started to verge into it, to swap over to... We've already done a Is the Fandom Dying? But we're gonna do it again, essentially. Like Fate of the Fandom.
Yep.
Because I think at this point, the majority of us have come to a very basic understanding that Hasbro is probably going to ruin everything?
I think at the moment, I think this fandom, at least from an outsider's perspective, right? Well, not really an outsider's perspective anymore, but as a newcomer's perspective, right? And as somebody that is new in this fandom, or could be considered new in this fandom, right? It looks like it kind of looks like if you were to chart, the success and the popularity of this fandom, it kind of looks like an oblong triangle, right? It was very linear or linear-esque in the beginning, and then you had that giant bump when G4 happened, and so there was a slow decline after that once it ended, and I think we've kind of plateaued, and we're just kind of we're not really declining yet, but we have the potential to decline, and it could happen at any moment, right? Now, the slope of that decline, well, I couldn't tell you that, right? It could be a really hard drop-off, or it could just be really, really slow and, go off eventually. But I feel like we're on a point where we're at a plateau, right? And there's like we're at a fork in the road where they either make something that blows up again like G4 and the IP stays relevant, right? Or they don't, right? And they realize that, we can't keep making more generations and not making it returns on the investments that we're putting into them, and they just cut it off. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
There's a weird fork here, and we're kind of at a.
Yeah, I actually have. I'm not sure. Did he cut off, or is he have audio issues? Because I have something to say after that.
I think audio issues again.
Atlas,
Right.
Yeah.
did you finish what you were saying?
Yeah, it'd probably cut for me again. I wouldn't doubt it. I should probably change to a different microphone. You know what? I should do that now.
Yeah.
Probably
While
a
you
good
do
idea.
that, I'm gonna go. When Generation 5 came out, I predicted this would happen, and I still think this is going to happen. But it kind of already has. But I predicted that the fandom would split from the Hasbro and all of their official shows and stuff. I thought it would just split and become more independent because we're already posting so much stuff. And a lot of bronies just haven't even watched the show. If Hasbro deleted the franchise yesterday, I feel like we'd still be where we are right now, and we wouldn't have a huge. There'd be a decline, but it wouldn't be massive.
Oh yeah, to add on to what Nez just said, I completely agree, but I honestly think we kind of split from our dependence on there being a show to follow back when season 6, maybe even season 5, because I like to call that the OC takeover, where a lot of projects and things weren't hyper fixated on canon characters anymore.
Oh, yeah.
So it was the start of that, and we were you were comparing us you're comparing us. I can't remember who it was, but one of you were comparing us to the furries. And I honestly go deeper than just because we're an animal show or whatever. But I say because we've kind of become our own thing now. Even if we do have a franchise and a series that we're connected to, the pony, the actual official pony stuff could just vanish, and we would probably still feel the same, to be honest. Even if the franchise dies, we still have the the canon characters we love, and we still have all of our original stuff we're doing. I always like to say, if Firefly can still exist as a fandom despite having one season and an unfinished story, we're gonna be fine.
I'm pretty sure the same can be said for fandoms like Homestuck. So anybody else want to go before I go? Because I have a very unique position to be saying what I'm going to say.
I mean, I guess pretty much what I'm going to say falls in line with what everyone else has. Yeah, the IP could go away tomorrow, and I feel like the fandom would be as strong, or maybe a slight decline, but we're still going to have cons and fan art and fan animations, all that sort of jazz. And it's like, I don't think it's going to go away. And heck, you're going to get even new fans coming by as they discover the show because, like, well, sure, they pull the plug, so what?
Also, Nashi, can you do me a favor and at some point send me the information for the 2 cons that you mentioned starting up this year?
Oh, sorry. I meant last year.
Oh, last year.
It was like Mayor Fair, and I think there was another one. I can't remember the name off the top of my head.
If you can find that, I would appreciate it. But
Okay.
for me, I agree with the divergence from the show because we have entered an era where every corporation is dead set on ruining all of the beloved franchises from across the world. It could be Tolkien, it can be The Witcher, Scooby-Doo. Warhammer was one that I mentioned earlier, where they're doing their damnedest to like rewrite the lore to fit what other people want of it. And if you want, I can explain more about that here in a little bit, but not exactly relevant. With all of that, I'm seeing that either one of 2 things are happening. Franchises with long-standing fandoms, those fandoms are going to start peeling away from their franchise of choice to make things of their own. That includes the Brony fandom. That includes any fandom right now that has an actual tangible presence. The 2 biggest ones that I can think of that have their own conventions and everything, and it's not just like they are married to their franchise. Because like I could see Doctor Who lasting a little while fandom-wise without the show, but like they don't have, from what I can tell, a lot going for them outside of the show. They're invested in the show. But our fandom and the furry fandom are unique in just how much we have outside of the show. This fandom on fan content alone from the past 10 years, 12 now, 14, something like that, since the show started, on just G-Force content, has enough to sustain us pretty much indefinitely. And with that, that's not even accounting for every single day dozens, if not hundreds, if not thousands of new videos are going up, new fan animations, new fanfics, new fan art, and every day we have people diverging from just, yes, My Little Pony the show to the Brony fandom, which is why nowadays I specify that I'm a Brony, not an MLP fan, because G5 to me as a writer sucks really bad, and we'll be getting into that pretty thoroughly next Alicorn discusses, but I'm gonna save most of that for then. Quite a bit of vitriol for that one, because a lot of dropped balls. But if I want to, say, do Pony Warhammer 40k as a 40k fan, you can find stuff for that in this fandom. You want to do D&D with ponies? Hi, here I am. I may not be the biggest or the de facto that does pony D&D, but eventually, here's for hoping, I will get enough of a following that I can kickstart an actual 5th edition supplement so that everybody can do pony D&D.
I would donate to that Kickstarter immediately.
I'm waiting to get a bit more of a consistent fandom for my channel. I don't know why I said fan following. Not quite the same as a fandom.
Very fair.
But
you want a community.
That is one of many things that I am looking into, and another place you can look. So a lot of people will point to the fact that what's that website called? Equestria Daily. Equestria Daily doesn't got hardly anything going up on it anymore compared to what it used to be. Go to A Daily Dose of Pony. It's a smaller site, but I highly recommend it if you ever feel like you're not getting enough pony stuff, because what they do, instead of going, oh yes, big name has done thing, big name is leaving fandom, big name has done thing, is they go look for all the little guys. I am supposed to be part of their editing team, but I have been like just slammed with everything else I do that's something I've been kind of neglecting, not to mention that it's a volunteer thing, so I prioritize some of the other stuff that I do. But musicians, for example, like you guys know I do the creator roundups. The musician one, and this is just for one server, I have for the musician Twitch just got hit with an ad. What I'm talking about is like just quantity of creators out there. With the musicians side of things, I do create a roundup. First one was the very first of these podcasts, so I didn't get a whole lot of people, but I did get enough to like fill butts in the seat, and I got some pretty big names to like help us kind of kickstart this. Now, I'm pretty sure I haven't looked recently, but I'm pretty sure I have enough for over 3 creator roundups of just musicians volunteering at the moment. But yeah, this fandom is far from dead. There is new people coming in every day. There is new content being made every day. There is so much going on. New conventions. Because that's something that would probably be the first thing to die if this fandom was dying, is the conventions.
Mm-hmm.
Because they are massive. They are difficult to coordinate, and like the best of luck for all of the ones that do coordinate them. Harmony Con, very well ran, to my opinion. Same with EFNW.
Everfree, yeah.
EFNW is probably one of the most prestigious ones from what I've seen. It's one that I want to be a community guest on too, but you know, I can't afford to go up there.
I'm honored to live like 15 minutes away from it.
Lucky.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
But yeah,
like
it's very, very active fandom, and I don't see us needing the franchise anymore. It was nice while it was a thing, and it was definitely, it brought us together, but at this point in the fandom's lifespan, we don't need it that bad. We make our own content. We make our stories. Atlas actually brought up a really good example of that. Fallout Equestria. We birthed a mini fandom entirely around that.
Also, there's a bunch of like big name characters that everybody's heard of, like Flufflepuff.
Oh yeah.
Little Pip.
Yeah. Little Pip,
also...
Flufflepuff. What were you saying, Liz?
I'm trying to name more, but I'm just blanking on all their names. But yeah, there's a bunch of like just
Echo.
random characters like Echo that are just like running around, and I don't even remember where a bunch of
Button
them.
Mash.
Yeah, Snowdrop. I wasn't sure she was that big, but yeah.
But everybody knows Button Mash even showed up in the show at one point, and that's a fandom character.
He's fandom?
Yeah.
Jan Animations.
I remember that.
I didn't even know that.
I thought J Animations grabbed a show character. Rick?
No, my understanding, he was entirely made by Jan Animations, and this kind of gets into one of the biggest problems that I have with Hasbro Hasbro decided that they didn't like that somebody was getting a lot of traction and looked too much like them, essentially. Because that's what really got him shut down, is what he looks so close to actual show animations.
Yeah.
There was also Hasbro and the fandom have a very bad relationship. They've always loved our money but hated us as a concept.
Yeah, it was always the showrunners that liked us, but Hasbro themselves, no.
I sometimes find that hilarious. So it's like we give them free advertising, but they turn us down.
Do you remember, what was it, the 200th episode? We're not, with the song, what was it, We're Not Special?
Oh, that wasn't the 200th episode.
It was supposed to be in like another version of episode 100. Originally?
Yeah,
You mean the song We're Not Flawless?
Flawless.
Yes, yeah, there we go.
Oh, yeah.
So, actually know something about that one. The writer of that episode hates that episode with a burning passion. Did not want to write it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, he did not want to write it, but Hasbro made him.
And you can tell that it was essentially Hasbro's attempt to tell the fandom, quit criticizing us. Because that also was part of when the analysis community got really, really big.
Yep.
Because the analysis community is another part of our fandom that it's kind of funny how many people haven't interacted with it. But, like, there's so many people in it that are, like, you see them and it's like, oh my god, I know that person. And then you find out, like, half the fandom has no clue who they are. I also think that another issue that we've run into that on a reason why people are worried about the future of our fandom is we'll have big names that'll go down in just massive explosions.
That happens with every community of humans, though.
I've noticed, though, that there are people that will point at that and go, the fandom is dying. We keep finding out they're not who we think we are, we think they are, or they keep doing things that make them look terrible. I can think of two in recent memory. Sawtooth Waves had a thing that blew up, which I will still say that I believe that some of that was blown way out of proportion, because our fandom also has a bit of an issue with letting things go, but that's also an internet problem in general.
Yeah.
And then the more recent one, what was her name? I hung out with her at one point before everything blew up. Voice actor.
Webcake by chance?
Yes, Webcake. That was another one.
I have a lot of interesting insider information on that too, which is funny.
It was one of those that it blew up out of nowhere for a lot of people, that it was just like, well, that was a thing. And I had several people that were just like, oh, the fandom's dying. No, they're just idiots. They did stupid shit, and now they've gotten burned for it. And then there's the closing of BabsCon. So how many of you actually know much about BabsCon?
I know quite a bit
nothing
about Babs.
I mean, I saw the announcement about next year being its last year. Otherwise, I don't know a whole lot about the con itself.
So, Fidget, I know a few things from vendors that have been there. So what would you like to say? Anything you would like to share with us about the closing of BabsCon? Fidget? Oh no, did we lose a Fidget? Or is this a me thing?
No, everyone's being quiet.
Yeah.
Oh.
Fidget, I've been prodding you.
Well, anyways,
Okay.
I believe a really good thing to point to show that the fandom is healthy is that not that people are leaving, but new people are showing up. Because
Every day.
it doesn't matter what a retention rate is if nobody shows up. And like you mentioned, you yourself, Nameless, came in like at the end of the main series, and Atlas said that he's only been here for a year. So I feel like those are some good examples that we're not going away.
Yeah,
Not anytime
Yeah.
soon. Not at all. Yeah.
like this is actually something a friend of mine said the other day. Like we've kind of gotten to the point where as a fandom where like all the people who joined ironically in the beginning are gone, and so all the long-standing people are the people who genuinely love the show, and so when new people come in, those are the people that they are interacting with now, and so it's kind of like a positive feedback loop where now that since they're with people who genuinely love the show rather than just like ironic watchers, they're more likely to stay because now there's a community to settle into that will actually like be just as enthusiastic at or for ponies as they are.
I believe.
I actually have a very controversial opinion. Like obviously Gen 4 was great, everyone loves it, but it was never my favorite show. I'm mostly just so passionate because of what the fans are doing.
That's actually not that bad of an opinion, because I have shows that I enjoy more than, like, don't get me wrong, I loved, like, My Little Pony, but, like, I'm more of an anime fan, and I love shows like Amazing Digital Circus, Hell of a Boss, Has-Been Hotel, where they talk about more mature themes. So stuff like that, like, grabs my interest more, which is honestly why it was more interesting that I even copped an interest for excuse me, for My Little Pony to begin with. But I also want to point out that we as a fandom, and I've seen this kind of turn into a double-edged sword sometimes, but we're like one of the most welcoming fandoms alongside the furry fandom, which is what I think also contributes to growth for the fandom. Don't get me wrong, there is definitely 4chan exists and the toxic side of Twitter exists. But
that is a hurdle every fandom has to deal with.
Yeah, even the because there's that one section of both the furry and the brony fandoms that have had articles written on them on multiple occasions that we don't talk about. That they exist. They're out there. They may be just like the antithesis of any of the kind of stuff, but
media drives on drama, and even if it's
Yep.
So
there's a saying I heard from someone say a while ago that I absolutely love because it's perfect. If your only interaction with a fan community, any fan community, is only on Twitter, you are seeing Twitter. You're not seeing the fan community.
Yeah.
Twitter is isolated to itself. It's weird.
Yeah, I am not on
This
Twitter.
is probably a controversial opinion, but Twitter is basically 4chan, but more public and more.
That's fact. That's not even controversial. I'll just stop you there. That's
fact.
entirely fact.
Especially after a certain muskrat took hold of it.
I'm gonna take what you said and tell that to everyone now. Like, I never thought of it being like public 4chan.
It really is, though. Yeah, I didn't think about that either, but it really is.
I haven't thought about it because I don't use it, but yeah, that makes sense.
I mean,
the main difference is just the direction that the political bullshit swings in. Because if you notice, a lot of the time, the more vocal group on Twitter is left and the more vocal group on 4chan is right. And they both scream equally as loud and are just equally as like unpleasant to deal with. But that's not the fandom. That's just
Oh,
a vocal minority on both ends. Because we may have technically originated from 4chan, which, fun fact, if you didn't know, we are actually a group that originated off of 4chan. And then it blew way past that. We do have...
we have 4chan to thank for that, so...
A lot of the massive internet pillars that we know today came from 4chan. It's a really weird thing. Like, a lot of massive internet pillars.
Yeah. Because even in the worst cesspits of society, some good can come from it.
Yep.
Like, they don't resemble, like, all of them now have zero resemblance to what they originally were from that site, which is funny. Because, like, there's a threshold in which it gets a little larger than intended from the site, and, you know, a fandom the part of a fandom is, you know, grown outside of it, right? And becomes its own thing compared to its base material, which would be, like, on 4chan, right? So it's funny, because, like, they all spawn from that site, but they do not reflect that site at all anymore, considering they're detached for the most part.
But even there, like, they're weirdly detached from the rest of the fandom. And then, at the same time, they're still pretty active on there from everything I've seen. They don't go outside long enough to find out that we're not dying. And so things like voice, or was 15 AI or whatever, it started out as like a I can English. Pony voice project, because they thought that there wouldn't be any voice actors, which I have proven wrong.
Yep.
Because I know
that is
plenty more that want to be on that.
Sistream's thing, right?
Yeah,
that specific project.
That project was created by staff. The 15.ai had it was like a pony voice preservation or whatever. The pony voice.
Didn't that have a lot of stuff that happened to it? Because I remember the guy behind it was fuming on Twitter because he was getting backlash about it, and people kept trying to clone the AI and everything.
I think that what happened now is that generative AI has become a very touchy topic among creatives, especially when it comes to cloning voices or writing or art.
I am definitely in that camp. I despise generative AI.
Personally, I feel AI is not a threat to me, right? Because what I will create will always be me, right? I don't care how well people can think something mimics me. It's just never going to truly be me or an extension of me. So it doesn't really bother me. I think it's a real threat to people who are using their creative liberties as a means of financial stability, right? Or they treat it as a business, right? Like if you treat it as a business, right? Like you do commissions and everything, and then AI comes in and they basically, they pull information from your art, and then, it allows people to do it for free. Then it becomes an issue. But for me personally, because I don't try to monetize off of what I create, right? I don't treat it as a business, and I also, I feel like I can't be cloned using an AI, right? It doesn't affect me. But I get it from a business aspect, right? If you are trying to monetize using your creative liberty. You're
also a musician, though, right?
Yes, I am.
So your side of it is a little less.
Well, no, because think about it, right? You can still monetize your music, right? Like some people make music.
No, I'm not saying
monetize off of it.
You are correct on the business side.
Generative AI for music does exist. It is also a giant threat to the music industry. If you're using it, if you're creating music to monetize off of that.
It is a big threat for the music industry as well. It's just it is far more advanced with image generation and
I can't argue that. You're totally right there. Yeah,
that's what I was bringing up, because Fidget's an artist and I'm a writer, and Fidget does commissions, and I want to start doing commissions, but it's a lot harder to justify at this point because everybody's just well, I'll just go to ChatGPT.
Yeah.
So hits differently for the different spheres of creation. And I noticed that artists are the most vehemently against it. Most musicians laugh at it because it sucks.
No, actually, it's extremely advanced when it comes to, like, if you've ever looked at, like, there's a couple large sites out there for AI music, and they sound amazing. I mean, it's as equal as a threat as it is to art. I can acknowledge that it's more advanced in like image generation, right? But it's still extremely advanced when it comes to
Then
music
they
as
must
well.
have-
It's
this
been
is
around for a long time. It just hasn't been the main focus. Like, it's always been
This
image
is,
generation that's been.
This is why it's so hard to keep up with, because the last time I looked into the musician side of things for the specifically for the AI podcast that I did, where we talked about this stuff, it was not advanced enough to produce anything that sounded musical. So yeah, it's I guess it's definitely getting better then. And
Oh yeah, it's. I
so
mean,
fast.
as a musician, I've seen it grow, and specifically in the last like 8 months, it has had a huge spike, like in progression. Like, it's getting kind of crazy. But like I said, it's really only a threat to those who try to monetize their creative liberty. Like I said, like, if you ask anyone who doesn't care to monetize what they do, right, or treat what they do as a business on the side, it just doesn't affect them, right? Because most of the time, what you make is going to be what you make, and what AI tries to make from what they look at you is going to be something completely different. It
Also,
can sound
hello,
really similar,
Stella.
but it's never truly going to be used. So those who do not try to view what they're doing as a business or try and monetize it, doesn't affect them. Most of the people that I've talked to, at least, including me. So
Hello,
I still
Stella.
think it's a genuine threat, though, to the people that do, especially voice actors. You know, like,
Stella, do
minus
you
art,
have
minus
a,
music, voice acting. That's a huge threat, considering how good it's getting.
Hold on, Atlas. Stella, do you have a PNG that I can stuff into the podcast window real quick?
I can go grab one.
I would appreciate it. Backgroundless if possible.
Anyways,
Real quick,
I personally feel like the main reason AI is a threat is because there aren't laws stopping them from just grabbing whatever they want and pumping that into their like AI.
Oh, yeah.
thing. Like, there should be like laws
that's a
where they
large
have to,
part of it,
take
yes.
kickbacks, but then that'll like cut into it very heavily.
Yep.
So like, yeah, there's nothing like that yet. So that's why people are mostly freaking out about it, I think.
Oh yeah.
Okay, before we get any further into this, Stella, can you introduce yourself, tell us what you do and how you got into the fandom?
Oh, hi, I'm Stella Star, and I voice act. I used to do art. I sing, and I write. And I got into the fandom, let's see, what year is it? I want to say 4 or 5 years ago.
So a fellow newbie.
Yeah, we're all new people for the
Yeah.
most of us.
I think Nashi's been in the fandom for a little while. Haven't you, Nashi?
I've been in here since 2012, baby.
You're old. You're old.
I am a Pony veteran.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So, just send me the PNG in the podcast text chat, and I'll get you up on the screen so that we can see when you're talking. And then the part that we're talking about right now is where we just got done talking with got done a little while ago talking about the franchise side of the future of MLP, which I think at this point the consensus was something ranging between they're just going to keep doing what they're doing whether we like it or not, or they're going to eventually just run it into the dirt and forget about it. I that's the general vibe I think we were getting from the Hasbro side of it.
I'm going with the former, but yeah.
Yeah, they're probably not going to kill it as a whole because it still gets them money, but it's probably just going to be like a zombie. We're probably not going to get another Friendship is Magic anytime soon.
I think it's gonna shrink back down to the size it was before Friendship is Magic, or
Yeah.
maybe not all the way back down there because they have more funding now. But yeah,
Yeah, the experience that I've had with that is whenever they realize that they can't milk it the way that they could, they start cutting back on things. People start quitting because the creative side of it that they were so invested in is gone.
yeah, that's kind of dead now, if you ask me. But anyways, we were done with that. And then we started talking about how the fandom like kind of split off, and it's not dependent on the show anymore.
It is definitely. Oh, we got a clip. It is definitely something that is changes. That sentence just got so derailed.
I actually have a thing that I just got reminded of now that when that topic came back, how we're not dependent on the show anymore.
Go ahead.
Weirdly,
I was actually having a conversation with friends like a couple weeks ago. How like one of them commented on how like new music from the fandom doesn't feel like old music from the fandom, and it was exactly the reasoning of we are not dependent on the show anymore because like early songs were either remixes of show songs or very much had to do something with an event that happened in the show where songs that are either like about like just like vaguely about a character or like
Yeah.
don't even have anything to do with with like an event or anything in the show, but it's just like a song just dedicated to the show that's like it's still clearly
Yeah.
pony because like they still use like pony phrases and stuff, but like it's more of like a song dedicated to the show. Like those were rare, and now it's been flipped where the latter is much more common and the former
Yeah.
is rare.
Yeah, you're not wrong. Now that I think about it, like even some of the big names that have been around forever, they're doing more stuff that's just like it's tangential compared to say like Discord or like a lot of old TLT stuff where it's all like about the show or directly like talking about things that happen in the show or directly married to the show in some way. But a lot of pony music now, like either it's stuff that like it's just a vibe type music where it's like no lyrics and things like that, or it's like it's more about things in theme, like more about themes and like tangentially like involving ponies just because like ponies. It feels
like
I recently saw a song come out that was just about a couple of fandom OCs, and it's kind of shipped them together a little bit.
Yeah,
but it's like or nothing like, got to do with the show at all.
And like one of my favorite examples to go with it is, it's like I love the song because it's just like a vibe. But it's a song called "The Mayor with the Bongos." It is just like a completely instrumental song that involves bongos. But if it wasn't for the title with the word "mayor" in it, you wouldn't like see that it was a song dedicated to Pony. Or because there's no lyrics to it and there's no reference to other like show songs in it. It's just a song that's meant to imply a mayor is playing bongos.
There's also the fact that with like PW is a really good example for that, because like rather than like, because if you look, some of his earlier stuff does seem to be more in the vein of what you're talking about, but if you look at like what he's been doing recently, it's been mostly things like his remix of Smells Like Teen Spirit and Black Parade. God, they're so good. But like, they're if you didn't know who he was, you would have just thought it was some rock artist doing rock music covers.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So like, we don't feel like we have to marry every song to the show anymore. Like, it can just be like, it's just enough to have it like be dedicated to the show, but
Yeah.
or to ponydom in general. But like, it doesn't have to be specifically pony, like specifically show related. I mean,
There's also the which is the writing side of things. Sorry, I'm trying to multitask. The writing side of things has also switched to where there's a lot more like fan related stuff where they're not talking about, oh, it's Applejack, but like in this it's OCs. Like example would
Yeah.
be like Little Pip would be a decent one, but like there's more like recent ones that are doing stuff like that.
yeah, or like like one example where like they still use a canon character. They still use like canon characters, but they put them in like something like entirely original, thought up from the writer's brain that doesn't have any connection to the show other than that it's using a canon character.
Yeah.
Like one fic that comes to my mind, the Olden World. It involves Starlight as the main character, but it's literally takes place like with her as a filly out, like, and she's not even in Equestria anymore. And it's just like its own thing. It's to explain like her hate of cutie marks, but like other than those like two very thin threads, it's completely its own original thing. Like you could replace Starlight with an OC and it wouldn't change anything.
Yeah. There's also this other story on Femfic that is kind of my favorite story. It's not like the sequel isn't done, but like the main story is kind of just about the Camelot invasion at the end of season 2. However, it is completely OCs, and they're not even in Camelot. The main character is a changeling, and it's more about like the ramifications of the failure that was. And it's just really good, and I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Samurai is going to have to leave here in a bit. So I think, given with us running up pretty close to 2 hours, that'll be a decent time to. Well, this will be a decent time to call it for the night. Kind of a shorter one today, but I normally do try to keep it 2 to 3 hours long. So for now,
y'all don't have to end on my account. So I mean,
I think we were actually like really good, like concise on getting our thoughts out too, though.
yeah, and it actually is a decent one to like have fairly short, honestly. And we did have some pretty decent, engaging conversations for the audience to listen in on. But
Yeah.
I think I do believe that it is a decent point to put a pin in it for now, and I may do another one of these later on. Stella, I know you didn't get to say much, but thank you for joining.
It's okay. It was my fault.
For those of you that may or may not still be watching, if you enjoyed that and would like to see more of it, don't forget to like, follow, subscribe, ring the notification bell, all that fun stuff. On Twitch, I am trying to get to 100 followers, so if you guys want to help me out with that, thank you for the subscribe, Glowpone. If you guys want to help me out with that, after I hit 100, we're going to be doing the my first subathon. That's going to be interesting. I don't know what I'm doing. We'll figure it out together. Fidget is apparently planning things. I am worried. But anyways, for those of you that are interested in that, I will also be doing a lot of other streaming throughout the week. We will have tomorrow's. Thank you, Kendo Studios, again for the. I don't know if that's a cheer or if that's just. What are they called again?
If it's bits, it's a cheer.
Okay, so it's a cheer. Thank you again for the cheer. Another cheer. Other than that, we will see you guys tomorrow at the usual time. You can check out the Twitch schedule or just keep an eye out on YouTube because I can't figure out that one's schedule. For Lost Memories, Second Chances, and then Heart of Darkness will be on Sunday. Other than that, big thank you to my Patreons. Check that out in the link in the description for YouTube. I think it's linked for Twitch. I'm not entirely certain. I am going to be looking at revamping some of the tiers to possibly include Twitch-related stuff as well, because this whole game streaming thing that I'm doing now is very new. And if you're interested to see me play games with random people, including Pure Blue Heart, and eventually I'll probably get Fidget on there at some point too, then keep an eye out on that. Other than that, big thank you to my Priest-tier Patreons, Cameo Shadowness, Scarmix, Ice, Crystal, and Trailblazer. And everybody have a great evening, and don't forget to drink water.
Hydrate or
Hydrate or
hydrate.
hydrate.